Well, the Polish, Czech and Slovenian Prime Ministers met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in Kyiv today. It was the first visit by foreign leaders to Ukraine's besieged capital since Russia's invasion. Meanwhile, more than 3 million Ukrainians are believed to have fled to neighboring countries. At least 1.8 million people have entered Poland. Krakow is one of the cities they've been arriving in, with many Poles now opening their homes to the refugees. Siphamandla Goge is joining us live from the southern Polish city. So, Sipa, we're just getting word, and we've just come out of that briefing from the International Court of Justice, actually finding that there is prima facie evidence and reason for them to intervene in the war in Ukraine. They've actually instructed the Russian Federation to stop their military action in that country. I know it's still early, you're still speaking to people entering that border post, but no doubt people who are coming there will have some sort of hope given this announcement.
And most of them, they were expecting this announcement. They were aware that there could be some announcement to be made by the International Criminal Court of Justice. They were hoping for positive news, and they were hoping that at least the court was going to order the Russian Federation to suspend its military operation. Those that we have interviewed earlier told us that the only hope they have right now is for this military operation to be suspended. They are calling on Russia to stop the war, but they extended that they were calling on the rest of the world to put pressure for this war to end. So no doubt that those who have fled Ukraine will welcome this news, and they have just told us that, listen, they would like to go back home. And as the court was saying, that most of the people now are disconnected, they are unable to access water, unable to access electricity, medical supplies, and that is what many people who have been arriving in Poland have been complaining about. Now, the United Nations, in terms of the official statistics that have been updated, more than 3 million people have fled Ukraine, and it says about 150,000 leave Ukraine per day. 6,250 people leave every hour, 104 people every minute, and 2 people every second. But depressingly is the number of children that are living there, saying basically every day about 70,000 children leave. Where we are at the moment in Krakow, it's the second biggest city in Poland, and it's been accepting thousands of people who have fled the Ukraine. My colleague Joe Komane will show you some of those people leaving this humanitarian center here. This is where they are provided with food. Others live here. This place is designed in a way that there is a sleeping shelter, but also there is a kitchen soup here whereby people come to get food, and then they will continue with their onward journeys. And children mostly and women are the ones who are suffering the most, who've been flocking to Poland. And authorities here in Poland have raised concerns about the increasing numbers. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere today in the Polish media reporting that the mayors of Krakow, which is the second biggest city, and the Polish capital, which is Warsaw, have said that moving forward, if the numbers continue to increase, they will not be able to accept more people simply because they do not have enough space to do so. So basically that tells you about the crisis that the Polish capital and the second biggest city is facing in terms of dealing with their influx. But there is no doubt that many people here will welcome the news by the International Criminal Court of Justice. But I guess the biggest question right now is, will the Russian Federation respect that decision of the court? Will they halt their military operation? Well, we can only find out once they respond. But bearing in mind that they were opposing this application anyway, saying the court must not even entertain it, that tells you that there is very little hope at all that maybe they will adhere to it. Most countries have been calling on the Russian Federation to suspend the military operation and for a ceasefire, also to allow for humanitarian corridors so that the civilian population will be able to leave Ukraine. But that has not happened in terms of how people would have hoped that it will happen. And earlier on, I spoke to one lady who fled Kyiv on the 26th of February, and she was explaining to me how her life has been disrupted. She was a student there studying medicine. She was about to graduate. She says she could only take her mother and the younger brother and leave her father behind, and her boyfriend because they have to remain behind and fight. Let's take a listen to what Lisa told us.
It took 3 days. We stayed in one city, Ukrainian, where my father works, and we spent there a night. And then we continued our trip to Poland. We slept in cars one night, and then we crossed the border on the 3rd day.
How was it like to hear the sirens warning you that there is danger coming, and hearing those sounds of blasts and bombs?
It's very scary, and because I saw it just a few times, and when we were leaving our home, it didn't stop. It was closer and closer because our home is close to this hot point where the first bombs began. So we heard it all the time when we were leaving, and it was scary. And I talked with the woman from Ukraine also. She said when they were leaving, they saw bombs under their heads.
All right, our senior reporter Siphamandla Goge is in Krakow in Poland. Of course, we'll get updates from him throughout the evening. Also, he'll probably try to speak to people about the news from the International Court of Justice, Sally, about that decision that Russia must suspend all military action